A rivalry that begins young. North Carolina and NC State. Tonight they compete in gymnastics. ACC action here inside Carmichael Arena in Chapel Hill. Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us to start off your weekend. She's the former Georgia Bulldog, Sydney Sneed. My name is Matt Krause. Well, Sydney, two teams that are separated by about half an hour, perhaps even closer in gymnastics competition.
Well, I'm so excited to watch this meet tonight. Both teams have been so similar leading up to this point in the season. So number 22 and number 23 going head-to-head tonight, it's going to be a great matchup.
Well, every returning ACC champion from last year is involved in this meet here tonight. And on bars, that means it's North Carolina's Lolly Decanoidza.
She is absolutely one to watch out for. Such a great leader on this Tar Heel team and just so consistent as well. Bars being one of her favorite and best events, a 97.5 average to tie for second in the ACC. I'm excited to watch this routine tonight.
Decanoidza the champ last year for NC State. They boast last year's ACC Specialist of the Year, Chloe Negretti, who's been a fixture in this program.
Just take a look at those accolades. I'm not sure there's much more she can do, but a fun fact from this is that she holds the most 9-9s on floor, held that record, and then broke that record again. So safe to say she's one of the best at what she does.
Year 6 in Raleigh for Negretti. She and Decanoidza are the veterans in these lineups. Both teams have some young talent as well. For more on that, we say hello to the third member of our broadcast crew, Olivia Mundorf.
Thanks, Matt. That's right. There's two impressive freshmen competing in this meet tonight. First for NC State, Sanaya Thomas. She's a Raleigh native, and she's earned her spot in the lineup on 3 events for the Wolfpack. Last week, a big 9-9 against Stanford. The week before that, the ACC Newcomer of the Week. But she's not the only impressive freshman. For Carolina, it's JoJo Valahovic. She's also in the lineup for several events for Carolina, back-to-back 9.85s on beam, and she just has a confidence about her gymnastics that makes it look easy. They're going to be fun to watch tonight, Matt, in this meet and the rest of their ACC careers. Back to you.
It sure sounds like it, Olivia. Two standout freshmen competing in this rivalry matchup here tonight. Some more stars to watch for NC State on vault. Keep an eye on Ashley Knight, and Kaya Forbes dazzled on floor, Sydney, for North Carolina last week.
Yeah, and honestly, the word that comes to mind when I think about Ashley Knight and Kaya Forbes is just explosive. The explosive power that they have, we're going to see here tonight, especially on the events like vault and floor. So it is going to be fun to watch them.
North Carolina and NC State just about half an hour apart. They meet in a dual meet twice a year, even in the newly expanded ACC. Carolina, as the home team, will rotate in Olympic order. That means the Tar Heels start things out on vault. NC State will begin on bars. And our first competitor of the night for the Tar Heels is Nev King, sophomore from the Woodlands, Texas. 9.775 on vault last week. That was a career high for her.
One thing that they're going to be looking for on this first vault is just clean and consistent with good landings. You're going to hear us talk a lot tonight about stuck landings. And starts with our Yurchenko full. She had the clean part that I was talking about. Minimal hop on that, but again, that's what you want from your leadoff competitor. Take another look right here. This Yurchenko full, nice block off the table and just clean form throughout. Minimal deduction on that hop. That's a good start for the Tar Heels.
Carolina has Julia Noer competing third on vault this week. She led off last week against George Washington. Tar Heels as a team, a 195.8 last week against the Revolutionaries. To bars we go. NC State, a 48.9 in this event last week, matched their career, rather their season high. And Kaylee Anamitis will compete, the junior from Long Island, New York.
So far, she's done a great job getting through this bar routine, has a nice rhythm, those handstands on top of the bar. You can see she did that Stolter into that double tuck and ends with a stuck dismount.
Anamitis, a bar specialist, her only competition of the night, this leadoff routine for State.
And taking another look at that stuck dismount, you can see the height she gets off that double tuck dismount off the bar and then just nails it.
Back over to vault we go, and the twin sister of Nev King is Ellie King. 9.65 for Ellie. She scored a 9.75 on vault for a career high in the season opener for the Tar Heels, which came on the road against Alabama. Tar Heels as a team, a 48-8 on vault last week. That was a 10th off the 48-9 that they scored in the season opener. So we'll see if Carolina can bring that consistency back in this second home meet of the season.
Yeah, one thing I'm really excited to see during the competition tonight is, again, the details in the handstands and the little things, but those stuck landings, those do take a lot of, those add up at the end of the competition, a couple of tenths, so it's really important to pay attention. And that's what we heard from the coaches this week when we had calls with them. Just stick those landings.
Dana Durante, the head coach of the Tar Heels, talked a lot about feet. That was the focus in practice for her team. Nev King, a 9.725. Now her twin sister, Ellie.
See another Yurchenko full. Almost identical to the first one. I guess, you know, that's kind of funny. They're twins, but really nice clean vault again. I like the execution throughout. And literally a small hop that we saw right here. Take a look, a nice body position. Small scoot back of those feet.
So you talk about the small scoot back of the feet there. How much of a deduction are we looking at for that?
Well, most of the time, the judges will take at least a tenth when you hop back, depending on how big it is. Now, if it's a big hop, it'll be more than a tenth, but I would say that's at least gonna be maybe a tenth or so.
So we'll await the score for Ellie King. Peyton Childs will compete next on bars for NC State. Childs a 9.7 in NC State's last action on the left coast last week at Stanford. Wolfpack has been well traveled of late. Competed at Stanford in ACC action last week. The week before, they were part of the ESPN events quad meet, the Sprouts Farmers Market Collegiate Quad in Oklahoma City. So even though the Wolfpack on the road this week again taking on North Carolina, it is a much closer trip for NC State compared to the last couple of weeks.
Talk about going back and forth from West Coast to East Coast. It's just not an easy thing to do. And so adjusting to that time and then being back here, it can be really exhausting for these athletes.
Here's Childs, a senior from Holly Springs, North Carolina, just down the road. A lot of North Carolina natives on the NC State roster.
Starting off this routine with a kip hop into that straddle Jaeger release move, right back down to the low bar. We're gonna see that combination a lot tonight. It's very difficult. One thing the judges are gonna be looking at is that form, which she's done a great job with so far. Almost had that stick, but I really enjoyed watching that routine. We'll take another look here. You can see the blindfold that she does going into that double tuck dismount. Just broke out a little too late, but again, really nice routine.
Julia Noer on vault for Carolina after Ellie King scores a 9.75. Again, Noer led off last week, but bumped a little bit further down in the lineup for the Tar Heels this week.
Take a look here, just all that power. Notice the height that she had off the table. I like the head shake at the end of the vault, but notice again, just the height she gets off the block into that Yurchenko full. The judges are gonna be looking right here, you can see, at the height, the body shape throughout. That's a really nicely done vault.
Noer had a 9.775 last week. Career best is a 9.9 for her. Speaking of career bests, Adamitis for NC State matches hers with the 9.875. Sydney, you were impressed with her bar routine, and the judges were as well.
Absolutely, and I think one of the biggest things was that stuck dismount. That's the last thing the judges see. It's almost like putting an exclamation point to the routine. So again, when you're looking at the last scale in your routine, you want it to be a statement because that's the last thing the judges are gonna remember.
That's a good point.
That's what we always used to say, right?
Eva Myers getting set to compete now. Myers, true freshman from Cedar Grove, New Jersey. She was named to the ACC newcomer watch list. 9.8 her career best in her young NC State career. Still awaiting that score from Childs. Myers with a deep breath. Her first introduction into this rivalry.
First rivalry meets. One to remember.
And yes, gymnastics is a sport where you're focused on your team score, your individual score at the end of the day. But yet in a dual meet setting like this, those competitive juices flow, don't they?
Absolutely. It is a team sport, but again, you're there by yourself individually competing. So sometimes it can be tough. Getting started with that nice handstand on top of the bar. That Shaposh release move. Down to that bail handstand. I really like how she was on top of the bar in that bail handstand. You could see how nice that was. Again, she was able to hold it. Huge double tuck. So close to getting that stick. But again, a small hop backwards. I want to take another look here. Look how the height she gets. A little bit of flex feet throughout the routine, but again, ends with a blind full, and notice the height right there on that double tuck. That was almost like a foot shift. I don't know if I would call that a hop.
2.98s already on bars for state. Julia Noah with a 9.775. Now Jojo Valahovic.
And doing a Yurchenko 1.5, and she sticks it. Wow. What a nice vault. That was phenomenal. That 1.5 is that blind landing. It's a 10-0 start, like we mentioned. Right here, notice the block and just that great form throughout. I've got to be honest, I would say this is going to be at least a 9-9. I'm going to call it early because I really like that vault. The form, the execution that we're talking about, she didn't even move on that throughout. So you can see how happy they are with that. I would be happy with that vault too.
Previous career high was a 9.775, and I think Olivia was on to something when she told us to keep an eye on Jojo Valahovic, the true freshman, ACC newcomer watch list selection, and some well-deserved hugs from her Tar Heel teammates, sporting those new Leos tonight. Back over to bars for Caroline Volk, another freshman, another native of Holly Springs, North Carolina. 9-7 last week against Stanford. Myers with the third 9.8 already on bars for NC State.
Starting off on this bar routine. See, huge straddle release move, right back down to that bail on the low bar. Again, we've seen that combination a lot on the bars. Gears up for that double layout. And almost stuck it. The judges now want to see you hold that stick for at least a second. So we can see that, again, huge release move here. Then again, on the double layout, she has the stick in salutes, but was falling backwards. So I'm not sure what they'll take on that right there.
Well, I hate to break it to you, Sydney, but ever so slightly, Valahovic misses the 9.9, agonizingly close. 9.875 as Kaya Forbes gets set to compete.
So close, and you know, a 9.875 still very well deserved, but again, a stuck 1.5 is impressive. Here we go, another huge vault. Nice vault. Again, her vault is one of my favorites to watch because she floats so easily throughout the air and drops out of it, which not many vaulters can do, but just, again, the amplitude right there off the table and then drops out. Once she gets that stick, again, that's going to be another huge score for them.
We discussed the Yurchenko 1.5 that Valahovic performed there. Forbes was working with the Yurchenko 1.5 last year, scaled it back to be a little bit more consistent. So it really does come down to each individual gymnast, what's going to give them the most consistency.
Right, and again, it is early on in the season, so it's probably that she's still working the 1.5, or she might be, and then you might throw it in the middle season, the end of season, just to be able to get that 10-0 start value, because that is really valuable. So definitely something that they're gonna want, but her full, Yurchenko full looks so effortless, it's hard not to have that as well.
There's a 9.75 for Caroline Volk. Will Hadrick is your next competitor for NC State, sophomore from Durango, Colorado. Really nice 9.85 on bars for her last week against Stanford.
Just getting ready for that blind half into that Jaeger release move, that straddle Jaeger down to the low bar. Had that handstand on top of the bar, saved it a little bit. Gearing up for this dismount. Almost had that stick, but again, one thing I've noticed from these NC State dismounts are the height that they're getting off the bar, which is something the judges are looking at too. Not just the form and the execution, but also the height that you're getting throughout the air. You can see nicely done on that release combination, saves that handstand, and then goes into full twisting double back.
Decanoidza on vaults.
One of our athletes to watch. Really like the height off the table, and I like the controlled landing she had. Even though it wasn't a stick, you could tell she knew where she was in the air, knew where she was on the landing. Again, right here, great height right there. And you can tell she was spotting the ground, which is what you're wanting to do on that landing.
Overall, it's been a good vault rotation so far for the Tar Heels. Valahovic's 9.875, a career best for her young career. Kaya Forbes with the 9.825. That's a season high for Forbes. Now waiting the score of Decanoidza. Carolina in line to drop the 9.725 from Nev King. Katie Harper is the anchor competitor on bars for NC State. Harper, sophomore from Columbus, Ohio. Two-time ACC Newcomer of the Week last year. ACC selection on bars last season, back for her second go-round in Raleigh.
This is a great spot for her to be in right now. Just taking a look at the scores in front of her. Everyone's hit nice, clean, solid routine. So it's almost like the pressure's off. Obviously, you want to have a great routine and get a great score, but again, they've done a good job so far building that lineup.
Score from Hadrick is in. That's a 9.775.
Beautiful handstand into that free hip. She did a Ginger release move, caught it a little bit close, so there was a form break right when she caught the bar. So that's going to be a deduction. But notice the form throughout, the feet together, they not even coming apart right here. Huge double A out. Let's take another look here at the release move. You can see, gets ready for this Ginger. Her elbows bend a little bit because she was a little too close, but the form throughout was very impressive.
Kim Landris, the head coach of the Wolfpack, with some words of encouragement. Exhibition routine on vault for Isabel Schaefer of the Tar Heels. Decanoidza with a 9.75, so Carolina will score a season high 48.975.
Again, we see another Yurchenko full. No problem with that one.
High fives for Schaefer. See her competing a little bit later on for the Tar Heels. And these exhibitions, Sydney, these are a chance for gymnasts to essentially compete under the bright lights of a competition floor, but the score does not count.
Exhibitions are so great because you want to have that 7th spot, that 8th spot. You want to have more depth in your lineup so that during the middle of season, towards the end of season, you're able to switch it out, and it gives those athletes that experience of still competing even though it doesn't count.
And you hope you don't have to deal with injury at any point in the season,
right.
But that is an unfortunate reality of this sport, too. There's Dana Durante, the head coach of the Tar Heels in her 4th season. She was really excited about the atmosphere here tonight at Carmichael for this rivalry meet against NC State. Her team turns in their season-high score on vault in this first rotation. Still awaiting NC State's bars score for Katie Harper, and it comes in right on cue, a 9.75. So the final score for NC State is 49 flat. That is a season high for the Wolfpack, their first 49 on bars this year. Exhibition will be performed by Madeline Reed.
Really nice handstand. to start this bar routine. Love the form throughout. That release move combination from high bar to low bar, that's one requirement. On uneven bars, you've got to go from the low bar to the high bar. Getting ready for this dismount. Another full twisting, a double back, holds on to that stick. I really liked that routine and just the clean consistency throughout. So nice job.
Both teams with season highs in the first rotation. NC State with an arrow advantage. For a season high 48.975 on the vaults. And the pleased head coach of the Tar Heels, Dana Durante, is standing by with Olivia.
Dana, yesterday on our call, you told me you wanted to see your team come out aggressive on vault. What did you think of that first rotation?
Yeah, really proud of them. They did exactly what we asked. They came out aggressive. We had a couple of 05 hops, but they went for the vaults big and they went for those landings. So really proud of them. Exactly what we asked of them.
Incredible atmosphere here tonight in Carmichael. What does it mean to your program and to ACC Gymnastics?
Unbelievable. It's so much fun. It's high energy. I love, like, we're going to keep getting this more packed. My goal is to sell this out in the next year and a half, 2 years. So we got a little work to do, but this is an amazing atmosphere. And it's so much different watching gymnastics in person than on TV. So love that it's on TV, but come to Carmichael and watch us in action in person. It's amazing.
Thanks, Coach. Matt?
Olivia, thanks so much. Dana Durante with a little marketing message in addition to coaching her team. NC State and North Carolina, the second rotation is after this.
10 seconds.
NC State fans making the short trip over from Raleigh to see the Wolfpack compete against the Tar Heels here tonight in ACC gymnastics action at Carmichael Arena. Hey everybody, Matt Krause, Sydney Sneed. Glad you're with us here on this Friday evening. And Sydney, we were excited for this one. Safe to say, with 2 season highs in the first rotation, we have not been disappointed.
Well, we knew it was going to be a close matchup, but new career high scores on the events tonight is just incredible. We have season highs for UNC and NC State, so I'm excited to see what they're going to do the rest of the competition.
Perhaps the highlight on vault for the Tar Heels, the freshman Jojo Valahovic with his Yurchenko 1.5.
Love that 1.5 Yurchenko. You can see she just gets so much height in the air and sticks that landing. I was really impressed with the vault in total. But again, those 1.5, those 10 star values is exactly what we want to see at this point in the season.
Well, this is a geographically close matchup between NC State and North Carolina. And for one Wolfpack competitor, this is even a little more close to home. For more on that, here's Olivia.
That's right, Matt. Meg Adler is a Chapel Hill native. She went to Chapel Hill High School, so she's no stranger to this atmosphere. She is also leading off on every event that she's competing for the Wolfpack, vault, beam, and floor, and she's fully embraced it. Kim Landris told us she earned that spot, and she wanted to be the one to lead her team off. Matt?
Sydney, what's the mindset of a gymnast that is leading off, especially in Adler's case, in 3 of the 4 events tonight?
Well, in my opinion, the leadoff spot on any event is the most important. There's so much pressure, honestly, because you're starting off that lineup, and it's almost like you can't fall, you don't want to fall, right? So there's a lot of pressure to that. So very impressive for everyone that leads it off. But again, they're going to be your most consistent athlete.
So it's not the notion of that first competitor is the score that you think that you're going to end up dropping. Some coaches may do it that way, but most don't.
Yeah, I guess some people do think of it like that. But again, your first athlete up is always going to be consistent. Never worried about, having to drop that score pretty much. Again, you want your lineup to build throughout.
Kim Landris, the 8th year head coach of the Wolfpack. Her roster does not feature any all-arounders, at least to start off this season. But here goes Adler on vault, competing in 3 events tonight.
Starting off with the Yurchenko full. We've seen a lot of those today, but that was probably one of the highest off the tables that I've seen tonight. Take another look here. She does that Yurchenko onto the table. Really nice block. And isn't quite able to get that stick, but again, that might be a 1/2 to a 10th on that hop.
Speaking of all-arounders, Julia Noer is the all-arounder for the Tar Heels. She'll compete here on bars, leading things off for Carolina. 9.725 last week against George Washington, career best back in 2023 is a 9.9.
She started out with a big Ginger release move. Does that build a handstand, almost fell over on that. That takes a lot of strength to be able to save that right there. So nice job on that. And then this dismount, full twisting double back, tiniest little step forwards. Let's take another look here though at this big save. You can see she does a nice bail to handstand. Look at that, she had to stick her head all the way through to be able to save that. Love the fight throughout that routine, and then again ends with just the tiniest little step forwards.
Back to vault we go for NC State, and here is Lauren Wright. Wright making her second appearance of the season. Sophomore from Wallingford, Pennsylvania, did not compete last year. Kim Landers says she has great body position. They really wanted to get her back in this lineup this week against North Carolina after not competing against Stanford last week.
Yurchenko full, pretty much had the stick on that landing. So again, exactly what the coaches are wanting to see. Right there, you can see nice body shape throughout. Did shift her feet a bit, but a nice vault for the Wolfpack.
Adler scored a season best 9.8 to lead things off. We'll await the score for Lauren Wright. Also awaiting the score for Julia Noer over on bars. NC State on vault last week, a 49 even. That was a season best against Stanford. North Carolina on bars last week also scored a 49 against George Washington. That was their season best. And Nev King made her bar debut a week ago against the Revolutionaries. She's back in there. North Carolina's mixed up the order a little bit in each rotation, but yet no changes to the Tar Heel lineup from last week to this week.
And that's a good thing because you want to get in that rhythm of your lineup, what that looks like, and what the lineups look like. And so that just makes the team and the girls that are going feel a lot more confident, I would say, as season continues to go on. And so far, really like the release move combination. She goes from the high bar to the low bar with that dynamic Maloney to pack. Beautiful handstands on top of the bar into that Stalter. Nice double tuck dismount and drops it into a stick. She is pumped about that. I want to see this dismount again. Nice Stalter up to the bar and then releases into that double back with a stick.
And her teammates love it. Nev King, a confident bars competitor. That should be a good score for her. Chloe Negretti for NC State.
I'm so excited to watch her tonight. Huge full. You can tell she's a vet by the way she just does that vault. Really aggressive into the table and then flies through the air, completely breaks out of it. You can see right here. Really aggressive, breaks out of it with her arms. What a controlled landing. Couldn't quite get the stick, but she's gonna be really happy with that vault.
Wright's 9.825 before her, a career high for the young career of Wright, who didn't compete last year, so in essence a first-year competitor. Kaya Forbes on bars for the Tar Heels. Forbes 9.725 last week, career high is a 9.775 for the junior. Worked really hard over the fall to earn this spot in Carolina's bar lineup. Now competing in 3 events for the Tar Heels. Coaches say, Sydney, she makes everything look easy.
She does. We'll see it throughout the competition tonight, but her gymnastics is just so powerful. We saw it on vault, just the height she gets. And one thing I've loved is being able to watch her just come out of her shell. You can see the confidence she's had and that she's gained throughout these last couple of years. See right here, a nice handstand to start off the bars. Love the bail to handstand. Again, we saw that release move combination. So far, this routine has been great. She is making it look very easy. And then does that tuck, double tuck, full off the bar. You notice how when she was releasing, she released a little bit early, which is why she took those steps forwards. Right here, you can see her feet don't come up quite quick enough, and then that hurts the rotation that you need to be able to land it with your chest up. So unfortunately, that's gonna be her biggest deduction of the routine, but I really liked the routine and the rhythm she had throughout.
Maddie Hall making her first appearance of the season on vaults.
Big hop on that full, but one thing I did really like was her body position throughout the Yurchenko full. Right here, she doesn't have too much pike, a little bit on the end, but again, she has that nice long body stretch throughout. And then again, has that hop.
9.825 for Negretti before Hall. Nev King with the 9.8 on bars for the Tar Heels. Gwen Fink will be the next competitor for Carolina. Here's a look at Fink. Junior from Fort Mill, South Carolina, had a great season opening meet at Alabama. Sputtered a bit on beam and floor last week. So we'll see how she can turn the page mentally into this competition against NC State Sydney.
Yeah, I think that's something really important to note because the season is so long. There's going to be mistakes made throughout. So it's really what you do and how you react to those mistakes. So we'll take a look here at this bar routine. She really has been a staple in their bar lineup, though, these last few years.
In all 12 meets last season on bars for the Tar Heels. Her career high in this event is a 9.9.
Starts off with the straddle Jaeger release move, beautifully done. Really like how throughout all of their bar routines, I've seen and noticed a lot of handstands on top of the bar, which is really nice. Double out dismount, drops it right in. The smallest shift of the feet. Take another look here at this straddle Jaeger release move. She flows right through it. Huge height over the bar. And then again into that double layout dismount. Drops it right in. That's a controlled landing.
Sanaya Thomas, standout freshman for NC State. You heard Olivia talk about her right off the top of the broadcast, how much she's improved as her NC State career has gone along.
Wow, that amplitude off the table. Nice block and dropped it in. That is a big vault for the Wolfpack. You can see right here, huge off the table. And then again, couldn't quite get that stick. We're seeing a lot of small hops or shifting of the feet, so it's very minimal. But again, that's what those coaches were talking about on every event. You really have to dial in and get those sticks. We are early on in season, though.
When we talk to these coaches before these meets, they'll say, you know, we're looking for a 10th here and there. And the question following up is, well, how do you do it? The answer is way more often than not.
Yeah.
Landings, feet.
Exactly. It was always, let's get 1% better. Where can we gain that half a tenth or that full 10th in our lineups? And just like you said, it's majority of the time those stuck landings.
There's been a bar lineup for North Carolina now in the last 3 seasons. Isabel Schaefer has been part of it. 9.875 last week against George Washington. Fink with a 9.85 before her.
One thing about Isabel Schaefer is that she has some of the prettiest lines that we will see tonight. And that's really hard to teach. A lot of gymnastics, you can teach the skills, you can learn the skills, but what's really hard is that execution in the form, like the lines that we're talking about right here. Look at how just textbook, really, it is. Huge straddle Jaeger release move to start off this routine. Notice that she does that handstand free hip into the bail handstand. I don't think I've seen her feet come apart throughout. And that is not something that you see very often. Gearing up for the dismount. Wow. And that's the type of stick that we've been talking about. You can see right here this Jaeger that she does. Huge height over the bar. And then again, that double tuck with a full twist. Doesn't move a muscle on that landing. That's going to be a big score for them.
Big score incoming for Schaefer. Over on vault, last year's ACC champion, Ashley Knight for NC State.
One of my favorite vaults to watch. You're going to see a huge front handspring piked into a front half. I saw her stick it in warm-up, absolutely drilled it. Not quite a stick, but again, a unique vault. You can see here that front handspring, huge front pike with that half twist. She does make that look really easy. That's also going to be a big score. That's a 10-0. So the minimal hop is okay, or at least a little bit better when you have a 10-0 start.
It's certainly unconventional, the hop she takes onto the springboard there.
Yeah, right. It's very different because you see that frontwards too, which you would think would be a blind landing, but she adds that half twist. So again, really unique vault there.
Let's see this one more time here, Sydney. There it is.
You can see. You notice too where she blocks onto the table. It's in the front of the horse, which sometimes can be a little bit scary, but she makes it look way too easy.
The score is in for Isabel Schaefer. It is in fact big, a 9-9.
I almost was gonna call it, but it was already 0 for 1 tonight, so I didn't want to say anything.
Now you got your confidence back. We'll say you called it, right?
I called it in my head, the 9-9.
Yeah, take credit for it. Lolly Dekanoidze, last year's ACC champ.
She's just such a beautiful bar swinger. I really like how she just gets into a rhythm. You can tell. You can see and feel the confidence that she has throughout. So far, beautiful routine. I'm gonna call the 9-9 on this one. That was beautifully done with the stuck dismount. Take another look here. Beautiful form throughout, sets it up well, and nails it. She knows it too. You can see her reaction on her face and her teammates.
Krista Zoltevich will compete in her next exhibition on vault for NC State. The score in for Ashley Knight, so it's a 49-1 on vault for the Wolfpack, another season high for NC State.
We're gonna see another Yurchenko full here. Really like the distance from the table to that landing. So really good job.
Waiting the score from Lolly Dekanoidze. Sydney predicts it's another 9-9. But Sydney.
I'm hearing everyone go crazy here. It's very loud. We're taking a look now. So she did get a 10-0 from one of the judges.
The other one, though, does give her a 9.95, so the score is a 9.975 for the reigning ACC Bars champion, Lolly Dekanoidze.
Wow, very well deserved. It was going crazy in here.
Carolina with a 49-3 on bars. State with a 49-1 on vault. Big gymnastics here tonight. Carmichael Arena, 2 season highs for NC State on both vault and bars. And to talk about it, head coach Kim Landris is with Olivia.
Thanks, Matt. Coach, season high on vault and bars. How is this competition, the rivalry, but competing in the ACC, pushing your team to be better?
I just think the adrenaline it creates, and it means so much to these ladies, the passion that they have, and the joy they have competing in the ACC.
Incredible performance last week at Stanford on floor, 49.225. How are you continuing that momentum tonight?
You know, I think we just have to do us and do what we do in practice and bring it out onto the Carmichael Arena.
We've talked a lot about Chloe. She's a staple for your team for many, many years now. But how important is she to your program?
You know, she's such a lead by example. The younger underclassmen look up to her so much, and honestly, our whole team does. So she just does her thing, and everybody notices.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. Matt?
Olivia, Coach, thanks so much. Chloe Negretti in her 6th year leading this NC State team that has posted a pair of season highs so far. Back to Carmichael Arena in a moment. The host North Carolina Tar Heels in front after 2 rotations, but both the Tar Heels and NC State Wolfpack up above 98 team points so far as we head to rotation number 3. And a big reason, Sydney, why North Carolina has such a high score. Lolly is popping off on bars.
Absolutely. Take another look here at this incredible bar routine. You can see throughout the routine, just doesn't break any type of form, nails every single skill, and then to end the routine with an exclamation mark, sticks that double out dismount. She did get a 10 from a judge. Just what a huge honor, and it just really brought that excitement to Carmichael. I think the fans were on their feet going crazy for that. It's really cool to see.
And you saw all the support from the teammates for Lolly Decanoidze. Carolina very close as a team. And their goal-setting process began on a team retreat. For more on that, here's Olivia.
That's right, Matt. They had a team retreat in the offseason. Dana Durante told us it was her favorite day as a coach so far. She said they worked on setting goals for the season, but not just winning the conference championship, not just going further in the postseason, but how do they actually meet those goals and what is going to put them in the conversation in a very competitive ACC this season. Matt?
Olivia, yeah, for sure. It is a competitive ACC, adding in Callan Stanford this year, NC State, the reigning champions. But Dana Durant has been open in saying that while the University of North Carolina was initially opposed to ACC expansion for the gymnastics program, it's been a benefit in bolstering the ACC and the Tar Heels program. As Carolina moves to beam here in rotation number 3, it's a big score so far for the Heels. Jess Naranjo gets things started.
This beam lineup we've seen a couple of times this season has just done such a great job with that consistency and building throughout. They've been really fun to watch. Getting started with that front aerial to that back layout step out. Had a bobble there, but stayed on. One thing to point out is that beam is such a difficult event, which we all know, but there can be bobbles throughout, so it's really important to be able to reset, even in the middle of the routine, and focus. You can see she ends with that handspring 1.5, so ends with a stick made up for that wobble. You can see right here on this series combination, she does that front aerial, beautiful, into that back layout step out, just a little bit off, so that'll be a deduction. But then does end with that 1.5 stick. So a nice hit for the Tar Heels.
As Olivia talked to us about a little bit earlier in the broadcast, Meg Adler is the leadoff specialist, if you will, for NC State. Second consecutive event that the Chapel Hill native gets things started for the Pack.
Ready for this first tumbling pass. She does that front 1.5 to that straddle jump. I think one thing we've seen is that extra adrenaline and juice because it is a rivalry meet. And I know that some of the coaches talked about that earlier this week. But we'll probably see a lot of it come out on floor, so it's important to look at those controlled landings and being able to just hone in on what they need to do.
Because this is the event, Sydney, where you can show the most of your personality.
Right, which it makes it so fun. The choreography, the floor, you can see her teammates doing the dance on the side. I think when you're on a team, you memorize 6 other routines, 7 other routines besides yours, so it's always fun. Getting ready for this last tumbling pass here. She does another front full to front layout, no problem there. So a nice solid routine to start off this lineup. We'll see right here that Rudy, which is that front 1.5 twist into the straddle jump. Notice how she was completely straight in a line, which is very difficult to do. So nice job there. And then front fall into the front layout.
JoJo Valahovic on beam. What a start to her college career. 2 9.85s. Graceful beam worker with clean execution.
Gearing up right here for this acro series. We're gonna see a back handspring, back layout. Good save on that. You can see in her hips on that back layout. They were a little crooked, but she did a really good job saving that. Nice leap combination there as well. One thing Coach Durrani said is she's just an athlete that you can always count on. Her team can always count on her. Does that round off a 1.5 dismount. Really clean and executed routine throughout. The biggest bobble right here on that back handspring, back layout. Notice her hips go a little bit crooked there. Could have been a fall, but she really fought to save that, so very impressive.
Ronho at the 9.75 before Valahovic. Words of encouragement from the veteran team leader there, Bella Miller, who you'll see compete later on the floor for the Tar Heels. Miller always with the glitter around her eyes there, the foot logo.
I think the glitter is one of the best parts, you know, to be able to put the glitter on your face and the sparkles in your hair. We used to do that all the time too.
We should do it for the broadcast sometime.
Put some glitter in our hair.
Why not? Still waiting the floor score for Meg Adler for NC State. Hadrick will be next.
What's fun for the NC State team is floor that we've talked about. You're really able to show your personality on this event, and it's fun to do in front of a home crowd. But great news for them is that they're not far down the road, so they have a lot of fans here tonight cheering them on during their floor routines.
Hadrick competed in just 3 events on floor last year, but a 9.825 or better in all of them.
First tumbling pass. She does a front layout into a front 1.5. Very controlled throughout. You can see that leap combination. So just like we see the big acro tumbling, there's also the leaps and the jump combinations we see as well that are just as important. Like the little wink there to her teammates. See, she does a full turn with her leg up, which makes it very difficult. Getting ready for this last tumbling pass here. She's gonna do a round off of 1.5 to a front tuck. Now, it looked like she missed that punch after the 1.5 through to the front tuck. We'll take another look at this because she might have been trying to do a front layout. So you can see first pass right here, beautifully done, front layout into that 1.5. And then right here, she gears up for that 1.5, kind of misses the punch right there. So looks like she was probably supposed to do a front layout, does a front tuck instead. We'll see if she needed that for bonus. If so, she would not start from a 10-0.
Taylor Schultz, the senior from San Antonio, Texas, on beam for the Tar Heels. Carolina now hoping that they can drop that 9.65 from Valahovic.
Yeah, she started off this routine with that back handspring back layout. No problems on that. You can see that switch leap into that split half. Really nice side aerial. Notice the form, the pointed toes, the straight legs throughout the entire routine. Now all she has left is this dismount. She actually learned this dismount in the off season, so this is new for her. Gets ready for it. It's a back handspring into that gainer full off the end of the beam. Really pretty. The tiniest little hop. But love the confidence that she had throughout that beam routine. You can see right here. Look at that toe point throughout that back handspring back layout. Absolutely nails it. And then that side aerial, really difficult skill. She makes it look easy. And then that gainer full off the beam. Held on to that small hop backwards.
Back to floor we go. Krista Zoltevich, you saw her compete in an exhibition on vaults. Graduate student from Shikshin, Pennsylvania. 9.75 on floor last week against Stanford.
I love watching her floor routine. Notice the facial expressions throughout. She does a great
Judges
job.
like her floor routine too, Sydney. 11 times out of 14 last year, 9.8 or better.
Yeah, it really comes from the height that she gets. She does a really beautiful 2.5 twist to a front tuck, and just the rise she gets in those combinations is really good.
That is a heavy looking book that judge is holding. That's gotta be at least 5 pounds.
I don't think I would want to read that book. But that comes from what I was talking about earlier. She does that 1.5 to the front tuck, which again, she's probably missing some bonus because she was supposed to do the front layout. So if I had to guess, it's coming down to what her start value is going to be since she messed up that last pass.
Judges' conversation's going to continue here. North Carolina and NC State, they're separated by just about half an hour, and they are frequent competitors in gymnastics, meeting twice a year, even in the new ACC. 30th meeting all time. NC State leads the series, but Carolina's last win came here in Chapel Hill back in 2023. Tar Heels in good position here tonight, Sydney.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with the competition so far. Each team has just continued to get better on each event. So again, we've seen some really good gymnastics, which we knew we would, and we knew it would be close. So it's gonna come down to these last 2 events here tonight.
So these teams both in the top 25, Carolina 22nd, NC State 23rd, and unlike in some other sports where the rankings are voted on by humans, these are straight up scores. Math decides your ranking, but look at this, all 6 ACC teams in the top 25.
That's really impressive to look at. It also just shows how difficult it is each meet that they're competing in. They're competing against ranked teams. So it's great exposure, great experience, especially for those postseason competitions that we're talking about. Both coaches saying, hey, we want to make a statement. We want to make it to nationals. So great practice that they're getting during regular season.
Well, as we await the official score for Hadrick, here is Zoltevich. It's a 9.675 for Hadrick.
NC State is definitely going to want to drop that score if they can. Putting a little bit of pressure on these next couple athletes. Her first tumbling pass here. Beautiful 2.5 twists, which is really difficult into that front tuck. Again, we see these leap combinations that are just as important. Because on these events, you have to get to that 10-0 start value. That's what's most important. So that comes from the combinations, it comes from the tumbling, it comes from the leaps, and also the dance too. You're not getting bonus for your dance, but you can get deducted for it, for the artistry level of it. So something to keep in mind. Last tumbling pass here, a double tuck. Really good job on lifting that chest up at the end. It looked like she landed a little bit low, but popped up. So not sure what the judges will take on that, because she did a nice job on that landing. You can see here, love watching this pass right here. 2.5 twists. Does such a good job just bouncing up on that front tuck. And then the last pass, really nice height throughout. And lands with her chest up, just popped up a little bit quickly to cover any questions about that. So nice job.
Gwen Fink on beam, a 9-9 in the season opener against Alabama. Took a fall last week, finished with a 9.075. We'll see how she bounces back this week.
Starts out with that switch leg to switch leg combination. She is such a graceful and confident performer on beam. Last week was very uncharacteristic of her, but she starts right here with a triple series, back handspring, back layout, back layout. Really good cover up, because it was a great acro series. Very sharp on those landings. Getting ready right here for that back handspring to gain her fall off the beam. Loved that routine. One of my favorite parts right here, this acro series, back handspring, back layout, into another back layout. Do not see that triple series often. And then that gainer full off the side. Couldn't tell if she stuck it from here. Looked like she did. Maybe moved her foot a little bit up and down, but beautifully done beam routine.
Sanaya Thomas for NC State. Kim Landris said there was a moment in the late fall where something seemed to click for Thomas for that transition from club gymnastics to the college level.
Yeah, it was really fun getting to talk to Coach Landris just about her as an athlete on the gymnastics side of it, but also just that personal growth that she was talking about as well. You can see right here, she starts out with a huge double pike, takes that step, which is allowed. So you are on floor allowed to take that lunge of a step without deduction, depending on how big or small it may be. She does a switch side into that straddle full leap combination. Second tumbling pass. She does that front layout into that front 1.5. A lot of power throughout this floor routine. We're gonna see 3 tumbling passes from her tonight. Getting ready for this last one. 1.5 to front layout, no problems there. Really big routine for NC State. We'll take another look here at this first tumbling pass. The double pike. Look at how she gets really high, sets up nice on that block for the double pike and is able to drop out to a controlled landing from there, and then again ends with that 1.5 to front layout. You can see the NC State section standing up after that one.
Julia Noer on beam for North Carolina. Gwen Fink with a 9.85 before her. So Fink back to her successful ways. Now Noer the all-arounder.
One thing to point out about Noer is just how aggressive she is. Every event, every skill, she just attacks it. That acro series, back handspring, back layout. Nicely done there. She does this switch leap into that split half. Did look like she was off, but I don't know if the judges could tell from the side, so great cover up on that. Does that front toss. Really like the focus and the attention on the small details you can tell throughout this routine. All she has left is this dismount, round off into that 1.5. Nice, solid routine. We'll see here that switch leap, and she goes straight into that split. Could have had way more of a wobble, so that's what I meant by great cover up there.
That leap combination is new for Noer. She worked on that hard in the offseason.
Yeah, and new skills are really hard to learn in college, I will point out.
Why is that?
Usually in club is where you have the time and you're working out a lot, especially in the summer when it's off season. But once you get to college, it's more like you stick with what you know for the most part.
Here's Ashley Knight on floor for NC State, 9.775 last week.
She starts out with that front double twist. So haven't seen that too much.
9.9 on floor at the ACC championships last year. She was an ACC all-championship team selection.
She is a ton of fun to watch. She's just very explosive in all of her gymnastics. Notice that shadow jump, how high she just got on that. Ready for this last tumbling pass here. Oh, Rudy, front 1.5 to that back layout step out. One of my favorite tumbling passes to watch. Just notice the rise in the height she gets on that back layout step out. You can see on this first tumbling pass, she does a punch double front full, which is a blind landing, so can be very difficult. Then that Rudy into that back layout step out. Looks like she was flying through the air on that one.
Anchor competitor on beam for the Tar Heels is Reagan McBride. True freshman from Columbia, Missouri.
And I think that speaks volumes that she's a freshman ending this lineup. Not an easy thing to do at all.
She's posted 2 9.8s so far this year. Little bobble there.
Yeah, and that was on that full turn, which seems like such an easy skill, but you'd be surprised how many times people have issues on that, but no issues on that side aerial to back handspring, which is very, very difficult. Really nice switch side there. Judges again are looking for that 180-degree split, whether that's on a straddle jump or a split jump. Beautiful front toss there. Just getting ready here for this dismount. Side aerial into the 1.5. A small hop forwards on that, but again, a solid routine to end their lineup. See that side aerial, 1.5. Had a little bit, shifted to the side a little bit, so it was crooked, but again, the judges are from a side angle, so not sure if they can tell quite as much as we could from our angle.
So we'll await the score for Reagan McBride. Chloe Negretti will compete here for NC State.
I've seen her floor routine a bunch of times, and I think I get more excited each time to watch it. She's just so aggressive, but you can see it in her eyes that she's just gonna attack the events that she's doing.
The ACC's lone gymnast last year to finish top 2 in 3 different events, vault, beam, and floor. Her floor career, 23.99s or better, including one last week against Stanford.
We talked about this earlier, but the record she had for the most 9.9s on floor, and then she broke her own record, so. That's really impressive.
She's the Eagle Floor co-champion in 2023, the former conference for both of these programs. Another judges conference here.
Seen a couple of judges conferences throughout. Sometimes it's hard because you're in a rhythm, you've got momentum as a team throughout the lineup, and then it kind of is just like a stop. And so that kind of is where that mental aspect plays a role. This is what you practice for, different scenarios, different situations that you do in the gym.
Reddy's been around a while, 6th year in Raleigh, didn't compete in 2022, and then has that extra year of eligibility because of the COVID season. This is the last year that gymnastics athletes have that extra year where you may see somebody who is a 5th-year senior.
Yeah, and honestly, props to her, because just like any sport, gymnastics is not an easy sport on your body. So to be able to be in the gym day in, day out on such a physically hard sport is just speaks volumes for her.
And we were talking to Dana Durante, the head coach of the Tar Heels. She mentioned that a focus of her team's training is how can they train skills without hard landings.
Right. That is really important because, again, the season's very long, so it's not realistic to do all of those skills on these hard landings every single day. You have to pay attention to your body and how that athlete feels as well.
Reagan McBride's score is in on beam for North Carolina. It's a 9.575. It's a 48.7 for Carolina on beam. Final score there. It's a season low for the Tar Heels.
That 9.575 may have come from a couple of missed combinations. One thing we mentioned earlier was that you don't just automatically start from that 10.0. You have to build up to get to that value. So whether it's from leaps, from series, from acro, whatever it is, you have to build that up to get there. So when an athlete misses, it can be very detrimental to their start value.
While in an event like vault, there are 10.0 start values where you get points deducted from the 10, correct?
Correct. You're getting deducted on each event, but again, with the floor and the beam, it's a longer, you're on there for at least a minute, so you're doing more skills throughout.
Well, after the 9.55 for Ashley Knight, here's Negretti to finish off floor for the Wolfpack.
One thing you'll see in this floor routine is big tumbling, but also controlled landings. Very good air awareness here. You can see she starts off with a double pike. Is able to drop out with a minimal lunge there. Get ready for the second tumbling pass. Front full to a front layout. She almost doesn't even need the lunge. She could just stick it. music choice is so intense, but I think it fits her so well. I wouldn't think of anything else for her. The intensity that she has just as an athlete. This last tumbling pass here, huge double tuck. Drops out. That's gonna be a big score for them. Really nicely done. Again, we talk about the controlled landings, the minimal lunge and steps here. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. First pass, double pike, drops out, knows exactly where she is in the air. Then the second pass, front full to front layout. Again, so controlled throughout. And then ends with this last pass. Didn't even need that lunge right there.
Exhibition on beam from Claire Stipik. Stipik, junior from Heartland, Wisconsin, who transferred in from Kentucky. Second straight week that she has competed in multiple exhibitions for the Tar Heels. And Dana Durante said that while the plan was not to put Stipik in any lineups, and that appears to continue to be the plan now that we're into the meet, but said that should someone warm up and be inconsistent, and Stipik was consistent in warm-ups, she would get the nod.
Yeah, and that is the case a lot of times. Who is on that day, who is on in the warm-ups. You can see she started with that triple series again. Back handspring, back layout, back layout. One thing this Tar Heel team has is that difficulty. We're gonna see it on the next event on floor as well, but it really is impressive, the level of difficulty they have on each event. She ends with that back handspring gainer off the side. Lands a little bit short on that. That's just from lack of power rotation. But again, great exposure for an exhibition, and nice to be able to just have athletes that can go in for, hopefully not, but injuries, or if someone needs to rest. It's always nice to be able to have that.
And it creates internal competition too, which can only make you better.
It does, absolutely.
Ava Myers with an exhibition for NC State after Negretti with a 9.925. It was a season high for Chloe Negretti. So Tevich and Hedrick also season highs for NC State. NC State with a 49-1 after dropping that score from Knights.
Starting out this routine, huge double back. It's hard to tell from that angle, but the height she got was incredible. A little bit of a bigger lunge on that though, so that's gonna be a deduction. But again, too much power is a good problem to have. You can tell she's having fun with this floor routine. Something we have not seen is any issues with endurance, which I think is an important call out because we're so early on in season. Sometimes that cardio and endurance of floor can be very difficult and tough, and watching, they're making it look way easier than it is, but you're really out of breath. I'm not sure. I used to not even hardly be able to feel my legs at the end of my floor routine.
And the coaches and athletes would never make an excuse, but NC State, as we said, they've done so much traveling recently too.
Exactly. There's so many factors that play a role in each competition. So again, we talked about a little bit of adrenaline coming into play, but really impressive.
NC State goes ahead after the third rotation here in this rivalry meet in Chapel Hill. Franklin and Columbia in downtown Chapel Hill, always a hive of excitement. Just down the road at Carmichael Arena, we're filled up tonight for Carolina and State. There's always a little extra juice in the building when these two meet in gymnastics.
NC State rivalry, right? It's just 30 minutes down the road, always a big one, regardless of our sport. Duke doesn't have gymnastics, so we don't get to have that rivalry. And so it is just a lot of fun. There's a good, healthy rivalry that brings out the best in each other.
Waking up on meet day, whenever it's the NC State day, there's just a different air to Chapel Hill. It's unlike anything I've ever felt. The crowd is always filling the whole stadium because we're so close to each other. And I think that rivalry is just so special, and it's such a fun day. And everyone, whenever we wake up on that day, like, we are locked in and ready to go.
The atmosphere in Carmichael is really exciting. It's the perfect mix of like the fans being close but also like spread out. So it's a very homey environment.
Carmichael is one of the best areas that I think to compete in because there's such an intimate space between where we compete and where the fans sit. I mean, it's one of my favorite things to be able to stand at the back of the vault runway. I salute, and there's fans right behind me. It really hypes me up, and every year I keep the same section in my beam routine actually, where I turn and I face the audience right before I do my dismount, and I always make eye contact with someone, and it just always gives me that little extra, that little motivation. And especially for my floor routine, now our student section is right next to the floor, which really gets me hyped up.
It's been a fun meet so far. One rotation to go. The fourth is after this. NC State in front by 2 1/4 tenths as we go to the fourth rotation. The Wolfpack gymnasts carry around with them a certain item that brings the team together and reminds them of the team motto. For the story, here's Olivia.
Thanks, Matt. You're right. Freshman Sanaya Thomas told her teammates the last practice before their first meet of the season, "Let's be locked in like a safe." And of course, that inspired head coach Kim Landris to make that their motto, "Locked in." Then that night, Coach Landris went and bought each gymnast a lock to put on their bags. On one side, it reads, "Be in the now." On the other, "Team 45 2025. That's their motto tonight. Stay in their bubble, stay locked in. Matt.
Olivia, thanks so much for that story. Did you ever have any props, Sydney, during your time competing for Georgia?
I'm trying to think. I'm sure we did. We never had a lock, but I really do like that idea, and I loved how passionate Coach Landris was when talking to us about it this week. So really neat for all of those athletes.
NC State trying to close out the victory here on the road against the Tar Heels. The Wolfpack with 147.2 as their team score through 3 rotations, surged ahead. NC State now needs just a 48.8 here on beam to secure their first 196 of the season.
And that's definitely something that we've been talking about throughout this season and to the coaches about. They'll be really happy with that 196 score.
NC State's team best score, the 195-125 they scored at Stanford last week. Meg Adler gets things going on beam here for the Wolfpack.
Starts off with that handspring back layout. Just was off on that landing and couldn't stay on the beam, unfortunately. That's really tough when your leadoff falls, but very uncharacteristic of her. She leads off on 3 out of the 4 events, and she does a great job. So I'm sure she's gonna be hard on herself after this.
Beam is the event that she has the most experience on in her college career, too.
Yeah, she's just gonna wanna finish this routine off strong, but again, it puts the rest of the lineup to the test, right? Mistakes happen. It's how you're gonna overcome that and bounce back.
And the Wolfpack doesn't even need a 49 here on beam to score 196, but they can't really afford another fall the rest of the way.
Really nicely done cat leap into that switch side. And finishes with a gainer fall off the side. No issues on that. But again, we'll take another look at this fall. Does that back handspring, back layout, and notice her front foot that hit the beam was halfway off, looked like it slipped. So that's probably what caused that mishap and fall.
Jess Narano, the sophomore from Hialeah, Florida, on floor. Career best 9.775 last week against George Washington. Our coaches describe this routine, Sydney, as powerful, dynamic, and clean.
I'd say those are some of the best things that you want on floor exercise. Starting off with a huge double pike. Had too much power on that, so took a little bit bigger of a lunge. Notice the height that she's getting on the leap and jump combinations. So explosive on those. Next tumbling pass, front layout to a front fall. We see that front landing is a blind landing, so sometimes can be harder to control, but no problems there for her. I love this music. It's so energetic and just feels so bouncy. Really solid start for the Tar Heels. We can see on her tumbling right here how much power she has, sets it up nicely. Just could have broken out even earlier to drop out of that because of how much rotation and power she had. And then again, with that front layout to a front full combination. Solid routine for them.
Next on the beam for the Wolfpack, Maddie Hall.
Back over to beam for Maddie Hall for NC State. Sophomore from Hampton, Virginia, scored a 9.675 last week in California. Adler gets a 9.225. Score that the Wolfpack hoping to be able to drop.
And this is going to be another high-pressure routine for the rest of the lineup, but definitely for the next person up, right? Because you're coming after a fall, but does not get bothered by that. Nice acro series back handspring back layout right there. Cat leap into that switch split. She's moving through this routine great. Just looks so confident. Front aerial. Nails that. Just has this dismount left right here. Gainer full off the side. Oh, thought she had the stick. But wow, really nice job being able to come back after a fall. That's exactly the type of routine that you want to see if you're Coach Landress. See that back handspring back layout. Doesn't move on that. And then that gainer fall off the side. Almost had it, but again, small hop there.
That concept of picking up your teammate after a fall, that's an adjustment for these gymnasts moving from club to college.
Right, because it is a team sport and every score counts. So again, if someone falls in that lineup, it's your responsibility and your job to be able to pick it back up and reset.
9.85 for Jess Naranjo, career high for her. Joe Valahovic now.
One thing we've been talking about is the difficulty we've seen tonight, and here is another example of it. Huge full in for first tumbling pass. That is an E-level skill.
For those that might be new to gymnastics, E-level skill, what does that mean?
E-level skill is, it's a matter of difficulty. So you have A through E, A being the easiest, E being the most difficult. So that's what I mean when I say E tumbling pass. Right here, a front tuck through to a double tuck. You can see she was moving really far throughout that pass, so unfortunately did step out of bounds, but that does not take away from how big and explosive of a pass that was. really enjoy watching that floor routine. Just the unfortunate out of bounds. But again, so much potential here with that huge full in. Notice how she lands with her chest completely up. And then again, with the front tuck through to a double tuck, she's making this look way too easy. Look how high she gets and just unfortunately takes that step out of bounds, but still really beautiful floor routine.
Third competitor on beam for NC State, the freshman Sanaya Thomas. Hall before her scores a 9.725.
Another crucial routine here for NC State. The front aerial to that back handspring. No wobbles there. Switch leap to that straddle quarter. Again, moving through this routine really confidently. She does a cat leap into a side aerial. So far, so good. Just has the dismount. Another gainer full up the side. Ends it with a stick. This beam team is picking it back up. You can see that height she gets on the gainer full. Drops it into that stick.
A lot of high fives for Sanaya Thomas. Gwen Fink prepares to compete on floor for the Tar Heels. Fink just an 8.75 last week against George Washington. Her best, though, a 9.875 here on floor. She's gotten a little better, a little cleaner, a little more confident every year, now a junior.
Yeah, and that's something that you want to see from a coach's standpoint and for an athlete. Consistently getting better each year. It's been fun to watch her be able to do that. Last week had a little bit of an issue with floor, but that's why it's a long season, right?
January the 24th. Long way to go for both of these teams.
Getting this routine started with a double pike. Does a good job with that. Right into a 2.5. We saw that earlier, but that's a really difficult skill with the blind landing. Last pass here. Setting up for the 1.5 to the front layout. A solid routine for the Tar Heels. Let's take another look here at her second tumbling pass. You can see 2.5. It's a lot of twisting in the air, and again with that blind landing, not easy, but she made it look that way.
After Sanaya Thomas is 9.8, here's Peyton Childs on beam for NC State. Mainly a bars specialist, but competing here on beam.
Starting with an acro series of a back handspring back layout. That's a skill we see a lot of. Switch leap into that straddle quarter combination there. It's important for this beam lineup to really focus on the details, but also their cues. Each athlete has their own sense of rhythm that they have throughout their routine. So especially in a high pressure situation here where you want to hit. That's really important. Cat leap into that front toss. Really impressive because it looked like she was slightly off with her feet on the cat leap, so she was able to control it still. And now for the dismount, back handspring to a gainer full off the side. She's happy with that one. You can see right here, this cat leap almost looked like a little shift in her foot, but was able to correct that.
Over on floor, Kaya Forbes, last week's event winner. North Carolina against George Washington. Forbes scored a 9.875.
I just love watching her floor routine, all of her gymnastics, but especially this event because of how explosive she is. You'll see another full in, which is the E-pass we were talking about right here. First pass, huge height, wow. She pretty much stuck that.
You know the tumbling is going to come through when you watch Forbes on the floor. Dana Durante said it's actually more the performance aspect that she's focused on.
Yeah, and we can see that. She's definitely come out of her shell a lot these last couple of seasons, even with the dance and the artistry aspect of floor. But wow, look at the confidence so far in this floor routine. I mean, I am so impressed with that first pass. Last pass here. She's gonna end with a double tuck, which is very difficult. Huge power. Wow, nails it. Nicely done, floor routine. It is loud in Carmichael Arena right now. You know you have too much power when you don't even have to grab on that tumbling pass. Wow. Double back for the last pass too. I love the reaction of her teammates. Look at those faces. That's gonna be a big score.
After 9.725 from Peyton Childs, it's Katie Harper on beam for NC State. 9.825 last week against Stanford.
NC State doing a great job. Just continuing to pay attention to details and just be consistent throughout the rest of this lineup. Nice cat leap, switch side leap combination there. The judges really want to see that extension, that good form, and good form is straight legs, toe point, execution. Really nice front toss there. She drilled that. Just getting ready for the dismount here. She's going to be looking for a stick. Tucked front full, thought she had it. Slightest hop forwards there, but again, that's another hit routine for the Wolfpack, which is exactly what they're looking for right now.
NC State continuing to perform after that fall from the first competitor, Adler.
Yeah, you can see that nice acro series back handspring layout right there. And then again, one of my favorite parts of that routine was that front toss. Looked like she was floating on balance beam there.
It was a 9.85 for Kaya Forbes, ever so slightly off the 9.875 that she scored last week. Her fellow Louisiana native, Julia Noer, always a crowd favorite on floor for the heels.
Something that I've said a couple times is just how impressed I am with the skill levels that we see in this Tar Heel lineup. We're gonna see another full in right here from her. First pass. Huge tucked full in. A little too much power, so she steps out of bounds. But things like out of bounds, those are easy fixes. Talking too about learning new skills, she learned that full in the off season. Front full to that front layout. Loved how she saved that from going out of bounds. You could see the fight in her toes on that. Really nice finish to that routine. Again, we saw huge tumbling out of her. Just a slight out of bounds, so that will be the deduction there. I love, though, right here, the height that she's able to get and just barely goes out of bounds, but really nicely done.
Chloe Negretti, the final competitor of the night for NC State.
Now, she is someone that I would want ending this lineup.
13 beam scores of 9.9 or better in her career.
Yeah. And we'll see why right here. You could see that front arrow with the back handspring. Very solid. Cat leap into that switch split combination there. Beautifully done split jump. Not only did she have height on that, but also the flexibility that she's able to show with that 180-degree split. One of my favorite parts of this routine is this dismount right here, round off double full, which you don't see often in collegiate gymnastics. Wow, and she sticks it. I love the hold too on the stick. She knew that was good. See right here, the split jump. Look how high she gets. Wow, really pretty there. And then this round off double full dismount. Look at her feet don't come apart, breaks out of that and is able to hold on to that stick.
Should be a big score coming for Negretti.
Absolutely.
It's loud in here for Bella Miller, final competitor for North Carolina.
This is a really fun floor routine to watch. Starting off at the front, tuck through to a double tuck. Wow. Absolutely drilled that landing there. It just looks like she's having so much fun out there. I love it. Gearing up for this next tumbling pass here. She does a round off to a double pike. Was able to stand up quickly to try and cover up because she was a little bit short. Loved how she popped up quickly though on that. It was a really good save. And the facial expressions are just making this floor routine.
She loves to interact with the crowd.
And that's why the crowd goes wild for her. You can see here, this front tuck through to a double tuck. Absolutely, just breaks out of that. Nicely done. And then this last pass, a double pike, was a little bit short, but did a great job, like I mentioned before, popping up from that landing.
Caroline Volkin, an exhibition on beam for NC State. It's a 9.9 for Chloe Negretti. 48.925 for the rotation for NC State. And there was a score adjustment from the third rotation. Ashley Knight's floor routine bumped up from a 9.55 to a 9.85. That is a significant leap for NC State. And so therefore the unofficial final score for the Wolfpack appears to be a 196.3, a season high, and their first 196 comfortably.
Yeah, and on the road, which will come into play as we start to talk about NQS later on in the season.
So you need at least 3 road scores for your NQS.
Right.
And while NC State will like being at home, 3 of their next 4 are at home, so they won't have very many road chances for a while.
Really nice routine done there on balance beam. You can see the excitement she has after that. And a nice finish for this Wolfpack beam team.
Bella Miller's score is in for the Tar Heels. It's a 9.75. So Carolina with a 48.95 on floor. And therefore, the Tar Heels scored tonight a 195.925, agonizingly close to the 196.
So close. And some of that, again, comes from the landings, but also those little things like the out of bounds. Those are easy mistakes to fix. So that is a positive throughout looking at some of those.
Claire Stipik with this exhibition.
Nice double pike to start this routine. Next tumbling pass here. Huge double tuck. A lot of dynamic and powerful tumbling that we're seeing here. Last pass here, 1.5 through to the front layout. Love that height she got on that second skill there.
Well, among the 4 event winners tonight, 1 athlete won 2 events. Our beam and floor champion is Chloe Negretti of NC State, and she's standing by with Olivia.
Thanks, Matt. Chloe, congratulations. A great meet today. Walk us through that last beam routine. You're in the anchor spot. What's kind of going through your mind?
Honestly, for me, I just try to stay calm and I try to be on autopilot, and that works best for me, taking it skill by skill and just working my way calmly through it.
You've been in college gymnastics a long time. What is different about this 6th season?
I think for me this year, it's a lot more about fun and it's perspective of I get this opportunity because looking back 6 years ago, I didn't think I'd ever be here doing a 6th year or a 5th year. So just really trying to soak in all those memories and take it as an opportunity because it's an incredible experience that, you know, I'm very, very blessed to be a part of.
Your team's been on the road a lot this season, but next week you're back in Reynolds Coliseum. What excites you for next week?
Honestly, what excites me is a couple things. I mean, I love our home arena. Like, it's beautiful, it's fun, our crowd has so much energy. And then second, like, I'm ready to face Cal. I'm excited, and I'm sure the rest of our team is very excited as well. So we're excited for a new opponent, you know, growing the ACC, so I can't ask for anything more.
Thanks, Chloe. Congratulations, Matt.
Olivia, Chloe, thank you so much. Negretti, the champion on beam with a 9.9, champion on floor with a 9.925 here tonight. Our other event winners on bars, Lali Dekanoidze with the 9.975. One of the judges saw a perfect 10 from her. Jojo Valahovic wins vault with a 9.875. So 2 event wins each for North Carolina and for NC State. for Olivia Mundorf down on the competition floor. My broadcast partner, Sydney Sneed. Our producer, Lauren George. Director, Chloe Walrad. My name is Matt Krause, saying thanks so much for joining us here tonight from Carmichael Arena. NC State with a 196.3, North Carolina with a 195.925. Fun rivalry meet. Farewell from Chapel Hill.